Hello, folks. I just finished my Esperanto dictionary I've been working on for a while, and I want to talk you through. I'm really happy with how the Flux came out for it. Had some friends help out with it in several different ways, but then finished it all up right now. So I'm just going to talk you through it real quick. This is largely a lot of string manipulations, and I just want to talk you through what a Flux build that I just made is. Let's get to it. This here is what the Flux looks like. It's a little long. Don't worry about it. We're just going to handle it like section by section. We're very pleased with all of it. It might get messy, it might get hard to explain at times, but I'm going to try. Ah. 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 Oh. Good enough. Now, what we're doing here is we are searching either for a word which is in Esperanto or in English. The way the dictionary is structured is you have the Esperanto word, then you have a colon, and then you have the English word, and then you have a line break, and then it just kind of does that. There's 64,000 entries, and this is actually just one giant text file. And one big text file, as it turns out, is much easier to copy and paste and work with than 64,000 individual dynamic variables, which is what I did at first, and then I wondered why it was hard to work with. There was a lot more data there. And so this is all just going to parse through one giant string. And I'll talk you through what each little bit is, starting with the source, and that's just the string that you're looking for. That's the word you want to translate. This is just saying that dividing character. And then these two orange ones up here, a red line is a string, and an orange line is just an individual character. Now, what I decided to do was do /n as the character, and then convert that to string, which I didn't have to do. You could just do the string field on its own and make the new line character there, but then that looks like just an empty space, and then that could be confused with, is that a space bar? Is that a new line break? Like, what is that precisely? So I did it that way just for readability so that I knew exactly what it was. To me, that was cleaner, but not necessarily, not something that was necessary. And then up top, I actually did something a little bit different. It's not necessary all of the way, it's just how I decided to solve the problem. And so actually, I think my friend's going to come and help me out and explain, just talk through what I'm doing with that little top line just right there. Now, this is a really valuable principle of programming, because up here on top, the dictionary does not just break out every line with only a new line character. I couldn't figure that out because it wasn't new line, it wasn't a space, it wasn't indent, it wasn't a space, and then a new line, and where the place was in the text file that should have been a new line, it just kind of wasn't. But I was able to go through and say, okay, whatever character is at the new line, so after the word squirrel, because, for obvious reasons, I was looking at what squirrel, trying to find squirrel for the word, right? So I would find squirrel, and then right after squirrel it looks like a line break, but I don't know what the computer thinks that is, because anything that I knew how to break the line, I couldn't tell the computer what to do, but the computer did in fact know what to do already. So I navigated to that character break and stored it into that value right there. That's just a slot on the dictionary itself, or a variable rather. And I could have found different ways of handling that. I could have looked up an answer more specifically, but that is a programmatic solution. You don't need to know exactly what the computer is working with, and that's what variables are for in the first place. All you need to know is that the computer knows, and so, hey computer, whatever it is that you know at line position 17 or whatever, I want to keep using that thing. So I still don't know what it is. All I know is that I found the new line break and then stored it somewhere, and so this one, that's like a regular new line, but whatever else it's doing, that's what that top one is. So that's why I have 2 there, is because regular new line did not work, but whatever this weird mysterious one is, that does work. I don't know what more to tell you, but that's the kind of logic that you'll end up seeing sometimes in a lot of programming, and inside of Flux it's no different. And thank you for that, Phineas. You did such a wonderful job. He always does. But now we're going to look at all of these other little red lines. And down here we have a Boolean value, which is, are you going Esperanto to English or English to Esperanto? Because when you look up a word, I needed to find a way to make sure that if you want, translate art, then you're not also going to find artichoke, right? Like exactly the one word you're looking for. And so I decided to add in lots of different ways the colon right here, but based on, like I'm doing it twice here. Well, I'd better be on this side of the thing. And actually, I think I'm just going to go get a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing, and then I'll just be underneath while we talk about it. Because any line in the dictionary is made up of a line break or a line whatever the heck the top is, I decided to find the word and then put the colon either before or after the word based on whether it's English or Esperanto you're starting with, then add the new line so that we would get an exact specific, this word, where it ends, where it begins, so we know that particular string is only going to happen in the dictionary exactly one time. We perform that operation twice, kind of. We'll get there at the end, So the top one is Esperanto, the bottom one is English because the colon comes in at different, you have to order it differently. And then based on which value we're going to use, that's this one on the bottom. And this is the Boolean node right there. That's the conditional, and we'll talk about that. And this one should actually be pretty easy to get the angle of. Question mark, colon is just the conditional sign, which is, do you have a value? That's the Boolean underneath. That's the black lines are always Booleans, true or false. And so on true or on false, you have two inputs there, and then you just have the one output. And in our case, we have both the exact coordinates of the Esperanto word or the English word that we're going to be wanting. We know exactly where in this massive dictionary, exactly what we're looking at for either English or Esperanto. So then it's going to read at the bottom value, are we looking for English or Esperanto? So when we move forward, we are using the correct data. Quick note, we have just that little colon separator again, which actually does have also a space before and after because that's how the dictionary was structured. And then this up top is just that source, the entire dictionary. That's just 64,000 lines of characters and all that. So that's what those are. And then one of the other ones you'll be seeing a whole bunch in this build is index of string, which is in the source inside of the entire dictionary. That's that little top line there. And then look for our definite signifier. There's only one of this string in the dictionary. And just find out where that is. That's the index. This next one's going to be kind of fun. It's a little bit annoying, but it's also kind of fun because we used one, but now let's go ahead and use like 4 right away. Now this one was really annoying to get the hang of at first, so I hope you guys really appreciate it. That is our first index of string earlier, which is in the whole massive dictionary, where is our very specific word that we're looking for. With the signifier added, that little colon is important as well. So this green line right here is the position of what we're looking for. And if I pull this out, that's going to say like 5,923 or whatever. It's way higher than that, actually. Let's just do it real quick. There we go, actually. See? That is the 532,571st. Computers are pretty fast at dealing with strings, though, so it does not care about looking up what that information is. And the reason that I chose to do it this way is because I'll know, based on if I'm looking for an Esperanto or an English word, where it begins or where it ends. And I didn't want to have to run through 2 different sets of code. If we're looking for the English word, then find the end. Or if we're looking for the Esperanto word, then find the beginning. I just wanted to do one search operation. So no matter which end you were translating from, the code would stay the same. That's just what felt important to me. And this is where those little spaces come in handy that I mentioned about, because down there, that little bottom one here in the corner is space, colon, space, which means that every key value pair, whether it's English or Esperanto word, that I found the exact position of, I can find the exact position of the divider between the two. I decided to size down a little bit because I was just so gosh darn big, and I did not even need to be that big. So green line here is where the word is that we're looking for. and then inside of that position, get exactly where the divider is. At this point, we now have the index of where in the whole entire dictionary that specific dividing character is. I decide to feed that into 2 more indexes of strings, because I'm going to look for a new line break. And the difference here you'll see is on the bottom, that Boolean input on the bottom, I just smacked my controller against the wall. But this Boolean down here points to search from end. I don't know how well you can see that, how the camera is right now. So the top one is just where's the next new line break, and this one on the bottom is where is the previous new line break. So between the 2 of those, I'm going to have where the entire line starts and where that entire line ends. So after this little operation, these 2 nodes, I'm going to know exactly what the entire string is, both the Esperanto and the English word that I'm looking for. So we jumped a little bit there. This is those 2 indexes we were just talking about. And right now we're going to worry about substring. Substring takes, like right now it's listening to the entire dictionary. It takes a start index, where do you want to start listening, and for how long do you want to start listening to. And remember, we're looking for the string of characters specifically. This is the entire string, both the Esperanto and the English translation. To find the length, I take where the end character is and where the beginning character is, so we just find out what the distance is between them. That should be pretty simple. And we know where it starts. We went through all of that math, the index of string there. So it starts where it started, and then it goes for however long it goes based on what we subtracted. And if I pull this out, I don't remember what word is loaded up right now. So here we go, actually. Esperi, to hope, which is what Esperanto actually even means in the first place. Esperi means to hope, and then Esperanto is one who hopes. So that's what, I'm actually really happy that that's the word that was put in there. So anyway, you'll see though, this is how it works. This is all the things I was just talking about, and you get the line, English and the Esperanto, and that works the same way whether you're doing English to Esperanto or going the other way around. You'll always get this little bit. At this point of the code, this is what you end up with, which is very useful for us. And this is where I feel maybe a little bit silly though, because I decided to do it this way, and you have one word, so now combine them and get that big string, right? And so now we're going to separate them back out into the English and Esperanto versions. It works for me though. It made sense in my head to do it this way. It felt like the code would be simplest that way, even though it did take a little bit of time to figure it out. But now that we successfully, whether we start with English or Esperanto, have the same piece of data with just we have all that we need, now let's tear it back apart and find out what the other pieces are going to be. And you will see we have our good friend, index of string. There are so many of those in this whole entire build. So we're just getting the index in our, let me pull it out again. So we're going to find out inside of here what value, like how far into the string is the colon. And before we move on, we're just going to talk about that too for a second, because we're using that green line in 2 places, and we'll see that really soon. And basically, we don't want my answer to come back with a colon in it. That's not very useful. So one of the green lines is just the first half, which doesn't even have a colon, so we don't have to worry about that. Start from the beginning, and then read until we're done. When you get to the colon, like, you can just stop there. And if we're not careful, then if we try doing the same thing, then our string will begin with the colon, and we don't even want that. So find out where the colon is, and then skip ahead by 2 places, and that's why you see a 2 there, is just to make sure there's not the colon, because Esperi does not mean colon space to hope, right? That whole thing. So that's just what the 2 is. You'll see that a whole bunch. And we are so close to done right now that I can taste it. I assure you, it tastes just marvelous. As here we do more substrings. These ones are looking at Esperi, colon, to hope. The one on the bottom here, we'll do that one first. You see it just has a start index, and the green line goes to length for the other one. Like the green line goes to 2 different places, which is the beginning or the end. Simple enough. Now I'm doing a trim string, which gets rid of characters that are not helpful at the beginning or the end. That's just to make sure there's no extra spaces or character breaks or anything like that. So that's useful for a string output based on what you're working with. And then we have our fun little answer. We've got Asperry up on top, and then we have to hope down underneath, which is just lovely. And then we pull in the conditional, like we did last time. And this value is, are you looking for Esperanto or English word? And so now we have our little conditional friend, and it feeds in twice, as the top is the Esperanto version, and the bottom is the English version. I could maybe tidy this up. I don't love the crossed wires, just there's only so much that you can do. I did my very best to keep this nice and tidy. But you got your 2 string inputs, 1 string output, and so we have all of the information that we need, both English and Esperanto, but we're only going to output one thing based on, does the user want the English or the Esperanto version? And then before we move on, little spoiler alert for this other section down here, we have the isStringEmpty node, and then also no entry found. And that's just really good practice, because if there's a problem, it would just show up with a blank string. There would be nothing there. But if there's nothing there, I want it to say that nothing was found, not just nothing. That's just, it feels nicer as a user, and it's way helpful to just see what's going on that way. So that's just a quick little check. It's our another little conditional friend. If the string is empty, say it's empty. Or if there's something in it, then just it goes straight through. And that's what that last conditional is, way over there. And I said that we were pretty much done, and in fact we are. We're at the end here. So we have our conditional, like, give it either there's nothing or there is something. And then write. And we're writing to the source, and the source is the text of the dictionary window. That's just what the output is. What I think is interesting is everything I just talked us through is all just, like, data flow. Nothing's actually happened. None of that was executed yet whatsoever, because the only, like, execution in all of this search is right there. That little line. Text editor event is when you're typing into the dictionary, and the bottom one there is submit pressed. So just whenever you press enter, basically, then it just writes. And it figures out all of that stuff right when you ask it to. So we did all of that work, and the whole thing actually, you know, it just had this little itty-bitty little bit there. That is such a tiny, it didn't have to journey very far, but we had to do so much work just to get there. And I think that's funny that sometimes your data line of, like, your flow, like what it's doing, you know, your execution, sometimes it looks like this. I think that's fun. And then before we close out the video real quick, I just want to say one more little thing, which is that I don't always know what kind of videos do I feel like making, or is it all just going to be tutorials or little build with me's, because I had an idea about, hey guys, this is a build we're doing, here's all the nodes, you figure it out. And then I would, you know, either pause the video and you could, what is he working on? Or then we could work on it together or something like that. And then there's other tutorials you could do about, like, any individual node, and you could, you know, talk through what all of them do isolated. And I went through, I think, pretty quickly for this one, but I was just kind of like having fun just talking about the thing I was really proud of. So if you guys liked this one, though, definitely please let me know, because I could make more things that are similar to what this video is, if this is a helpful one, if this is an engaging thing or anything like that, because, you know, I thought this was pretty neat. And if you also thought that it was neat, then what do you know, there we go. We're all super happy. But now it is time for me to go, because I finished the dictionary, and I was going to go eat pizza and have chips, which I'm still going to do. But I was going to do that like an hour ago, or 2, goodness, hour and a half. But then I wanted to actually make a video about this, because I was so happy with all of that work. So yeah, that's my Esperanto dictionary. This is just the lookup for it. Special thanks to Red Dragon for helping me get out of... This used to use 64,000 dynamic variables. And it's much better now. And Red Dragon, I think his solution will be used for flashcards. I'm going to make flashcard system. And I think what he's got there will be really helpful for key value pairs in a nice dynamic way for that. But then the searching itself, Sonico put together most of that. And then I repurposed and just added and fixed it around a little bit to work how I knew that I needed it to be. And then Harmonica especially helped to untangle the initial big, because it was a massive bit of spaghetti, and so then got that nice and tidy, and then I was able to like take a look at it and be like, okay, well here's now, let's just tool it a little bit, and now we're very happy with how it all came out. And now I'm gonna go because I have so much pizza and chips to eat, and I'm so excited for it, and you should be too. We'll just a little tail action, and then here's my acorn. When I scale down, my acorn stays the normal size, and I actually kind of think that's funny. Usually I can eat it by walking into it, but when you scale down enough, it doesn't work the same way. I just felt like telling you guys about my acorn. So here, you look at the acorn as the video closes out. It can be your emotional support acorn, and I'll talk to you guys later though.